Hi, I'm Will Holbrow,
And I'm Ari Levine. Welcome to The Path That Makes Us.
a show led by two Kellogg MBAs to highlight the different career paths, the lessons they learned along the way, and the journeys they took to get there.
All to help you craft your own path.
Hey everyone, welcome to The Path That Makes Us. This is episode 1. Our guest today is Meehan, a longtime friend, currently working at Snapchat in New York. Neil, it's great to have you on the show. How are you doing?
It's good to be here. I'm good. It's Friday, 5:20 p.m., so life is good.
Perfect. Well, we'll kick this off by just asking you to introduce yourself to the audience. Tell us about kind of where you're from, what your careers look like, and where you are currently.
I'm Neil, as you all know. I am from Connecticut. That's not super important. Went to Michigan, did math because it's like kind of the only thing that I wasn't terrible at, I think. Realized that pure math wasn't for me in undergrad because those classes were a little bit too intense. So switched to like math with a computer science focus, which Michigan offered, which was great. And I figured like had some coding skills. Coding was gonna be useful moving forward. So was like glad to pick that up. But then when I was graduating, I didn't really know what I wanted to do. Was kind of like not super into a certain field. I didn't like love finance and that whole vibe. So got lucky to join a consulting company called Cornerstone Research, which is kind of niche. It's like Econ consulting. So it's all like in the litigation space. Basically, like if McDonald's and Wendy's are like in a lawsuit against each other, Cornerstone will come in, support an expert who's going to testify and talk about, the economic and financial like outcomes that might come from that merger or that like not a merger, but like that lawsuit. Did that for a few years. Like I thought it was really good. Just like building skills and like learning a bunch of stuff about different fields because again, like didn't really know what I wanted to do. And then got lucky enough to get a job at Snap doing data science, which is kind of like using more of the technical stuff that I did in college. And it was like the stuff that I did at Cornerstone that I enjoyed the most.
So, Neil, I noticed during your introduction, you spoke a lot about luck. You framed your experience learning about Cornerstone Research, about jumping to Snapchat. There's all about getting lucky. Could you dive a little bit more into why you framed it that way? What would you attribute as luck versus the things that you earned on your own merit? Or was it a combination of both?
I frame it that way kind of looking back, mostly because when I was at Cornerstone, like there was a lot of time that I was kind of like passively looking in the job market. And what I came to realize was there are like a plethora of talented and qualified people who are all like applying to the same jobs that you are most of the time. And so a lot of times it just comes down to like, did I have a good conversation with someone who can give me a referral? Or like, did they respond to me on LinkedIn when I like cold reached out? And so I think that that's like the big luck part is, you know, having someone who's like willing to help you and like lend their time to you and like mentor you a little bit, which is like hard to find. And it took me quite a long time to find someone who was willing to do that for me. So I think that's the lucky part is like making connections and networking and like having something click. And sometimes you like hear about an industry that you didn't even know existed. Like econ consulting is not something that I had kind of ever heard of before, and like knew what it was. So lucky in that sense, I think.
On that note, could you talk a bit about how you ended up learning about econ consulting, how you learned about Cornerstone specifically, and speaking of like, what was the path that brought you there, that brought you to that specific journey?
And then if I may just add on, like, what do you think, what aspects of that job or people looking for potentially jobs coming out of college, like what traits should they have where they would be candidates where they'd really enjoy that job?
Yeah. Both good questions. So I'll start with Will's just because it's top of my mind, but I am going to circle back. Uh, I think econ consulting, and I like this is my spiel that I would give to candidates when I was still working there and like trying to get people through the interview process. Um, Really, what they're looking for is like someone who's willing to learn and like adapt to things because like you're never gonna come in and know everything about the industry like from the get go, and because it's like case by case based work, you're gonna have to be like learning on the fly. And so a lot of people would be kind of like intimidated by the fact that we did a lot of coding, or not a lot, but we did some coding in our work, and they would be like, oh man, I haven't done any coding in undergrad. Like, am I screwed for this? I would always say, and it's true, it's like, no, as long as you're willing to learn and like put your head down and get stuff done, that's totally fine. I the like anecdote I like to tell is the best coder that I worked with at Cornerstone was someone who was a philosophy major, like not someone who had any prior experience, but they were willing to learn it. And so I think for consulting broadly and like more specifically econ consulting, that's an important skill to have. And then how I heard about it, yeah, I heard about it through my dad, who had like connections in the industry and like knew about the industry. So he kind of like pushed me in that direction and said it was like a possible path, knowing that I was a math major but didn't really know what I wanted to do.
That's amazing. I guess when you're at your first job and the following job when you're at Snapchat, what were the things that you felt were most helpful that people told you or that you learned there that helped you grow more effectively, but also helped you stay or remain a top performer while you were in that earlier stage of your career?
Yeah. So econ consulting, I think, is like some of the best training that you can get, both because like of the people that you'll talk to and um, the type of work that you do. And so this wasn't like explicitly a piece of advice that someone gave me, but just more so something that was instilled into everyone at the firm. Uh, was that like you have to be right, like, and you have to be confident about being right. Like in college, you get a homework assignment and you you're like tired from partying the night before or whatever you were doing, and and, uh, and just like do a kind of a half-ass job and turn it in, and you're like whatever. With entering the workforce and like econ consulting specifically, again, it's like litigation based, so it's all in the framework of like this is happening in the court of law, and like if the expert testifies and they're like wrong about something, they can never testify again, and their reputation is on the line. And so I think like the biggest learning that I had there is you like take your time. I was always the guy in college who like loved to turn in the test halfway through the exam and be like, I'm already done, I'm so cool. I learned very quickly when I got on the job, um, you have to take your time and like be thorough and be correct, because there's like higher stakes than, oh, like I got a B minus on this exam or something. Um, I'd say that's the big thing.
How did that pressure of being right impact not only your kind of day to day or how you kind of put pressure on yourself to approach the job, but like other people around you too? Because I can imagine that having that pressure, especially with litigation present at most times, it can be quite daunting.
Yeah. So the way Cornerstone does it, and I think lots of um, firms in the industry do it a similar way, is there's like a doer and a checker. And so for like a given analysis, like say you want to come up with, the market cap of some company, or like the total sales or something, you'll have two people like independently doing the exact same thing. And then they get to the answer and they meet and say like, this is my answer. This is my answer. Oh, great. Like we match exactly, or we're off. Like what's happening? And then you try to like dive in and figure it out from there. And that like took a lot of the weight off my shoulders, at least knowing that there was kind of like this built-in safety net, that like if I was going to be wrong, someone was also going to be equally wrong, and then it's like not on just on me, which is like a luxury that I don't know if everyone has in their first job out of college, but it still kind of instills the like stakes of it, I think.
So I guess for people who don't know, for example, Will and I, when I was in management consulting and what was in life sciences consulting, could you talk about in more detail what you observed or what you understand to be the key differences between litigation econ consulting versus some of the other options available to candidates?
Yeah. I'm super like not well, whatever the opposite of well versed is on like the different subfields like under the umbrella of consulting. But like my understanding, at least, and you guys will correct me if I'm wrong, for like management consulting is you kind of come into a company and learn as much as you can about it and like look for inefficiencies, look for like ways to improve, and then kind of at the end of the project or whatever it is, you like pitch like the improvements that could be made. Is that kind of the sense of it?
Yeah, I think that's right on the money. I'd say that's very well versed, actually.
No.
I'll give you a B, more or
Yeah, B
less.
plus. At
Yeah,
least
well,
there's a safety net.
that's fine for me. But so econ consulting is like super niche. So the big thing is, or one of the big things is you're not like traveling for work, and you're not technically like your clients aren't technically the companies that are involved in the litigation. Like, so if it's what McDonald's and Wendy's example I used before, you're not hired by McDonald's, you're hired by the law firm that's representing McDonald's. And so like the deliverables that you have to give at the end of the project are one, you have to prep an expert to testify. So it's not like you're identifying inefficiencies, you're more looking at like what happened kind of in the rear view lens, like ex post. Can we like talk to an expert and teach them about what happened and have them like make a case that makes sense and aligns with like the goals of the law firm? I think in econ consulting, it's all like backwards looking. It's all, what happened and like is the claim that's being made in the case valid or not? Like that's kind of the direction. It's like very focused in a way that I'm not sure other consulting fields are. Like, what the plaintiffs are saying or the defendants are saying, like whatever side you're on, what their argument is, and you kind of just have to either like break that argument down or prove that argument is correct, right? And so like the goal is very clear, and you just have to like use data to get there, which for me is nice because I'm not like such a creative guy.
Moving on to your transition to Snapchat, would love to hear kind of why you made that decision, why you thought it was the right time in your career. And then I know from personal correspondence that you had a bit of an interesting transition in terms of moving from Cornerstone to Snapchat. So I'd love to hear kind of why you thought that was the right move for you at the time, and kind of the value that you got out of that.
Yeah, interesting is one way to put it. It's a good question. I had spent 3.5 years at Cornerstone. I got so much out of it. Like I do not think, and I'm obviously biased, but I do not think that I could have gotten more out of like a first job in 3.5 years in terms of how much I learned and what I'm taking forward into like my career moving forward. I had kind of just reached a breaking point though. Like I'd been at Cornerstone, I'd been high performer there. I'd been managing people and like that was really cool and fun and new work. But the actual like work that I was doing was no longer super fulfilling, I guess. I was much more interested in like getting more technical and at a high level, like the stuff that I was doing was getting a little bit repetitive after 3.5 years. Like most people don't even stay that long. So I was maybe overstaying my welcome in the first place. And so, as I mentioned earlier, like I had done kind of passive interviewing and recruiting for like, I don't know, Will, you maybe know better than me, like 2.5 of those 3 years. I had been like, just like a LinkedIn person, someone would reach out to me on LinkedIn, like a recruiter, and be like, hey, are you interested in this? And I'd be like, yeah, sure, take the call. But I wasn't like actively looking. And I kind of just was like, I've been looking for a job for 2.5 years. What's wrong with me? And I think it was my sister or my mom or someone who sat me down and was basically like, you haven't actually been looking for a job. Like you've been working full time and you come home at the end of the day and you're tired and you don't want to look for a job and like do the extra resume review and all that stuff that you have to do to like properly apply for jobs. And so then like spur of the moment kind of decided that I would be more efficient in the job market, like searching for a job if I didn't have a job, because I would be like able to devote my full energy to it rather than like exhausted on a Tuesday and wanting to do nothing less than to like interview prep or something. So I quit actually, and I had like a little spiel. I had I guess 2 months or so where I was fully unemployed, which was great. I highly recommend it to people. I mean, you guys are in business school, so you're basically doing it already.
Yeah.
This is great. But I traveled around. I did some skiing with friends, and they would all go off to work during the week, and I was like, gosh, well, what do I do now? Like, I guess I got to start looking for jobs. And so then I could really, you realize that a day is like actually quite long when you're not working full time. And if you spend the whole time playing chess on your computer or something, you're going to quickly go insane. So that kind of lit a fire under me to start reaching out to people.
Are you suggesting that's what you were doing for part of the day?
That is what I still do that from time to time on the weekend. And then I'm like, what am I doing with myself? I did that for probably like 3 days. And then I was like, okay, I need to start like really reaching out to people, really kind of trying to get a job again. Not because I like was desperate to work again and was actually really enjoying my time off, but, my girlfriend was probably not going to be so pleased if I was unemployed for a year and traveling around.
Beautiful.
And so, yeah, that I do think that like really gave me the space, and kind of all of a sudden it was like, oh, people are responding to my LinkedIn messages. Like, why weren't they responding to me before? And it's like, well, I wasn't sending like 40 messages a day before. And like, if you send out a lot of messages, people will start to respond. It was nice to have that time. Reached out to a guy who used to work at Cornerstone, actually, who worked at Snap. He's like, actually, yeah, you could be a good fit. And that's kind of where it went from there. So, that was my little adventure. What did you call it, Will? Interesting?
I was trying to be nice, all right?
Yeah.
So Neil, a few follow-ups. How did you know that taking some time off was the right move? And also, how were you thinking about the types of roles that could have been of interest or the companies that were exciting to you? And you also alluded to, for example, using LinkedIn. What were the ways in which you started to get in touch with people?
I kind of would just come home at the end of a work day, and the last thing I wanted to do was recruit and do that whole spiel. And it was a really scary thing. It was like I was having conversations with my parents, and they were like, "You should probably have a job lined up before you leave your current job." And that was I was looking desperately for like somewhere on Reddit to say it's okay for you to quit your job and not have anything lined up. But the consensus was kind of everywhere, like that's not the way to do it. But like I don't know, it's something I like really felt kind of fundamentally that I was not putting my full effort into the job search because of all this time that was taken up by my current job. The second question was, oh yeah, like what companies Yeah, again, so you would have thought that working in econ consulting for 3.5 years would have like I would have worked on a super cool case and been like, ooh, I want to work with this company more. Like they do cool stuff. Still was kind of like all over the place after my 3.5 years. I was looking at hedge funds. I was looking at um, like cancer hospitals. I was looking at big tech companies. I knew I had a like certain skill set, which sounds super like braggadocious. I I had developed skills while working at Cornerstone
Sound
that
like Neeson. Big set of skills.
yeah, exactly. Exactly. I was, but my skills aren't murdering,
Okay.
people.
Thanks for the clarification.
But I mean, yeah, he's cool. I I knew like the kinds of fields that were open to me based on the stuff that I like to do, which was like data work and coding and stuff like that. Uh, and so I was looking at different routes that would let me continue to use those skills and like develop them. Um, and so yeah, like the big places I was looking were like hedge funds, which have lots of data people doing data stuff all the time. Uh, Tech, obviously, there's tons of that, and then um, like these kinds of like quirky and weird things like hospitals and um, like recording studios and things like that that were more just like aligned with my interests, but uh, maybe not. Maybe kind of like trying to fit a square peg in a round hole type thing.
Like, how did you end up getting in touch with these people? I know you said LinkedIn was
Oh yeah,
was one.
yeah. No, LinkedIn. I mean, I think I got really lucky. One, at using the word lucky again. Uh, one, my Cornerstone, the Cornerstone network is like very huge, as you can imagine. Like, I'm sure you guys have the same thing where people who start their career in consulting like kind of explode outwards into a bunch of different fields, and you can kind of like find an alumni from your company at like any company that you're interested in. Uh, so that was nice. Going to Michigan with Will, like another huge alumni network. Uh, and then thirdly, my older sister actually went to Stanford GSB, so she had like her own network. So like if I didn't get a job, it would have been really pathetic because I have all of these like possible connections. And so on LinkedIn, yeah, LinkedIn, you can like search for your school, search for your former company, all this stuff, and like just look at a company that you're interested in and you'll find like 10 people, or at least I can because I have so many connections. Gosh, maybe that's obnoxious. But like you'll find people, and people are like more willing to help than I think it feels like when you're sending out messages. Um, People love to talk about themselves, ask questions, and get them talking, and like I'm doing rambling like a bunch.
No, super helpful, and I think that'll resonate with a lot of people. But for other people who may not have such a profound
You
expansive
got to
net,
cut that out.
how do you recommend they approach maybe a job search or just networking in general? And then the other side of the coin is, do you think people should really entertain the idea of quitting their job to go full steam into the recruiting, or do you think maybe that's just something that worked for you? Just broadly thinking there.
Yeah. I think on the first one, um, I think if you can do something to differentiate yourself, it can only work in your favor, right? Like I think I'm much more likely to respond to a LinkedIn message that is unique and tailored to me rather than something that I know someone just like copy pasted and sent to 400 people. Um, right. So if you can uniquely express your interest and like prove to someone that you're interested in, I think that'll go a long way. But obviously it's like a crapshoot. It's hard.
Yep.
And so like don't get discouraged. Maybe future and candidates like don't if people don't respond at the beginning, like hold out hope. I think people generally are good and want to help. And I got tons of no responses when I was in my job hunt. It's not like it's hard to not take it personally, but it's like they don't know you, you don't know them, yada yada. And then yeah, like get creative. I mean, I was getting kind of stalkerish creative. I found like a website where you can like find someone's email, like their work email, that's like by just putting in their name. And so I was like emailing people on their work email, which I think is like pretty invasive and maybe would be terrible if I did that, if someone did that to me. But like, but like that, I was like, you know, really scrapping and trying to do the thing. And you kind of have to be like ruthless about it. You can't like be, tiptoe around the issue because you want something, like you should go get it. Do I recommend that people quit their jobs when they're looking for jobs? I mean, it's like it really depends on your situation, right? Like, there's people who are way better at multitasking than I am, and they can come home after a long day of work and like, to the grindstone, study for the CFA or whatever, like, and do that. That's like I don't know. My brain doesn't work like that. Like, I need downtime. I need to play chess and like hang out before bed. I think it really depends on who you are. And like I really don't want to get in trouble if a bunch of people quit their job and then they're like, "Oh, Neil told me to and now I'm screwed." So like, I think you should have like enough money saved up that you can do it for. I think I budgeted for like a year or something. And I was like, okay, if I can like survive a year with no job, and that should be enough time, hopefully. Uh, it like happened much quicker, thankfully. But it's stressful being unemployed. You're like, all your friends are going to work and you're sitting at home and you're like, oh man, am I doing something wrong? If you have the budget for it, I think it can be super rewarding. And I think it can help you get into something that you like better than you would have otherwise, because you have like time to actually devote energy to thinking about what you want to do. Um,
Yep.
But really depends on who you are and what you're good at.
Yeah, I'm hearing like two almost competing things that have to happen at the same time. You have to be really persistent, but at the same time, there's like an importance of recovery and taking time to make the times when you're working more productive. But I guess moving on a little bit to once you actually landed this job, could you share for those who are not familiar with like what you did there, what Snap does, especially as it's changed over time? What did your day to day, or what does your day to day look like in that role?
Yeah, so Snap has been great in the sense that I'm doing it was like my goal leaving Cornerstone was to do more of the technical stuff. And I'm doing that, which is really fantastic. I'm learning a bunch, which I'm liking a lot. Um, yeah, so data science at Snap, or data science, I think more generally, but uh, I'll speak to Snap because that's what I know about. I break it down into like three components. Uh, the first is, it's tons and tons of data. Like every time you like do anything in the app, it gets logged and tracked and registered. Like even if you like just randomly tap the screen, like we know that you're tapping the screen. So you can imagine how many users we have, how much like activity they're doing on Snapchat. Every day is like trillions and trillions and trillions of rows of data. Um, and so the first kind of component of what I'm doing is data pipelining. So like it's not really feasible to hold all that data for like the end of time. It would be great, but it'd be ridiculously expensive and like the world would burn down. And so and so like what you need to do is take all of that data and like overnight transform it into one that's something that's like storable for a longer period and usable, and two, like something you can run analyses on and like that will actually you can actually like learn from. So you want to like cut a bunch of stuff out that you're not tracking and like come up with these consolidated data tables that are useful. So pipelining is like taking that big chunk of data and like spitting out a bunch of smaller tables that you can work with and making sure that like that process going from A to B doesn't break down. Um, The second thing that we do is we run a lot of experiments on users. So like we want to change the way that friend stories are displayed or something like that. What we'll do is we'll release it to a small, and like this is kind of common practice. I'm not giving away any industry secrets here, but like we'll release it to a small percentage of the population. It's called like A/B testing. So you release this change, see how it performs for like some key metrics that you want to track. So like we made this change to friend stories, and like people are watching more friend stories. That's great. Or they're watching fewer friend stories. Like, ooh, maybe we don't want to make this change. So like, and that's obviously oversimplified, but like that's the gist. The second part is like analyzing these experiments, understanding like what's changing and why, and then like deciding on whether or not those experiments should be released to like the general public. So data pipelining 1, A/B testing 2, and then the third thing is like these deep dive analyses that we get asked to do, which are like my favorite part of the job and very cool. Like a couple quarters ago, I was asked to just like cluster users based on how they use the app, like into different groups that we can then analyze and like quickly break down data using. So like you'll have an A/B experiment and it's like, okay, which users are being affected and why? Like the goal of this clustering was to say like, we can kind of put users onto these big umbrellas that of the like stuff that they like to do in the app and go from there rather than like on a very like minute level, user by user or whatever. And so that's like an example, but there are these like kind of more deep dive analyses that are kind of less structured and more interesting to me.
Awesome. That's great to hear and cool to see the kind of transition in your work from Cornerstone to Snapchat as you look to kind of the future of your career. And we don't want to get you in too much trouble. But but like, what do you see for yourself from a career perspective on the future, and kind of how are you preparing yourself for that right now, or thinking about it at least?
Are you talking about AI?
We're talking about everything under the sun, but feel free to talk about AI. Yes.
I mean, yeah, I think anytime that the like the future comes up these days, especially in like the tech world, it's like AI, and it's like in hushed tones in the hallways. People are nervous that it's coming for their jobs, and certainly it's like scary. It's exciting and very kind of impressive and cool how good it is already, and like a little bit meta and dystopian how like our managers are like, you should be using AI more, and it's like, okay, well, when does AI like use us less? uh, so yeah, I think pretty soon, like in the next couple of years, my role is like going to be very like there will still be data scientists. I think there'll be a lot fewer of them, and they will all be kind of just like managing AI agents rather than like doing the work themselves. Um, and so, yeah, in one sense it's scary, in another sense it's like, okay, I better learn these tools and get good at them so that, you know, when that great reckoning happens, I'm like one of the ones who sticks around, hopefully. Um, but who knows? Like Snap, if you're seeing this, like don't fire me. Uh, but yeah, I mean, it's kind of like a very existential and philosophical question. I think that a lot of people are facing, some more than others, obviously. Like I think lots of people have probably already lost their jobs to AI and are like trying to figure out what next. I'm not thinking on super grand times, like long time scales at the moment, just because the world is like really changing really quickly. I think I would like to continue getting a paycheck from somewhere. But whether it's like doing AI or like building tables, I don't know, because I think that that might be a more useful skill like in a couple of years. So yeah, and it's that's a terrible answer to your question because it's like so vague, but it's a scary thing.
No, I think that's super insightful to understand how people in your specific role in data science with the advent of AI are thinking about it. And in reality, it's something that will likely be affecting all of us on this call and the people that will be listening and thinking about their careers in the future.
For people who are maybe a bit younger than you, or even in your shoes, as they think about balancing, obviously you've had a great career trajectory so far, but as they think about having to get those kind of um, those great jobs and continue to progress their career while also trying to live and enjoy the experience of life. What's your advice for kind of how you have seen, balancing that with obviously a high caliber career, doing well in all the jobs that you've had?
Well, thanks for thinking I've done a good job, Will. It means a lot. I think again, like it really depends on who you are. Like I'm someone who probably every 3 months, if I'm not outdoors for like 4 days straight touching a mountain or something, I'm gonna go crazy. So I try to kind of plan these like bigger trips for myself, where I can take like a week or two off, like once or twice a year, that I'm like really excited for and like looking forward to. Um, some people do it totally differently, and they like do this like slow drip where they like take a Monday, like for 2 months straight or something, and it's like I just like my 3-day weekends. So it's different. I think it's important though to kind of gain perspective, like take a step back and realize like sometimes work can be stressful and annoying, and you're like, oh, I just don't want to do it anymore. And sometimes you quit your job when you get to that point. uh, but so I think it's like important to have these moments where you can reset, whether it's like on a long weekend or whether it's on a bigger trip, and like take a step back and realize that, at the end of the day, it's like it's work. It's not, there's like bigger things going on, bigger things in life. And so keeping that perspective, I think, is important. Like, I know it can be stressful. Looking for a job, I know it can be stressful. Working a job, I know it can be stressful. Being unemployed and like trying to figure out what's happening next. So like just trying to like maintain perspective and like a positive outlook, however that may be for you. Some people like to do, cold plunges. I would never do that, but that's like how they stay focused. So whatever it is for you, I think like hold on to that, because otherwise you can kind of lose yourself and become, another suit or whatever people wear these days. I sweatshirt.
Yeah, we're all professionals here.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I don't know.
Well, Neil, thanks so much for sharing your story, for all this insight, for being so transparent and vulnerable with the decisions you've made and how you've chosen each role. We wanted to try something a little bit more abrupt now that you've had the opportunity to go into detail with some yes/no questions, do a rapid fire lightning round. Are you down for that?
Of course. Oh, this is great. I love this.
Okay, amazing. This is the first time, so we're gonna see how this goes. We're going to switch off, and each of us will ask you a question with yes, no, but if you need to add a couple more words, feel free.
We'll
Hold on. Can I like think about it, or do I have to just like go?
Rapid fire.
Rapid fire.
Okay.
All right, first one, which you've sort of alluded to already. Do you believe most careers will look completely different in 10 years?
Yes.
Do you think AI will make people more productive overall as a society, or less productive? Rapid.
More productive, but dumber.
Okay.
Fair answer. What is the biggest career risk you've taken that's paid off?
Quitting my job.
Do you think most companies overestimate the impact of emerging tech like AI?
Yes.
And last one, with a little bit more of a philosophical undertone. What do you value more, curiosity or experience?
Curiosity for sure.
Amazing. And
Awesome.
also one last thing. Neil, do you want to share a little bit of how you and Will know each other for those who are listening and might not know?
Yes, I would love to. What stories can I tell about Will? So I
It's a professional podcast, Neil.
yeah, Will and I went to Michigan together. We were in the same fraternity. For those who, I know that has like some sort of connotation. Um, so Will and I, we went to college together. We weren't like super close, I would say, in college. Just like we ran with different crowds. I don't know how the cool kids say it these days. But then we both moved to Chicago after college. Both were doing consulting. Thought it would be a good idea to live together with a couple of other of our buddies, and it was a real blast. We got way, way closer, and that was a whole bunch of fun. Um, I crashed his dad's wedding.
True.
Uninvited, which
Very
was
persistent, Neil. He wasn't going to take no for an answer.
yeah, and even when no was the answer, I just showed up anyway. Me and Will spent a month together in Buenos Aires when we were working in our first year out of college, or second year out of college, second year, which was a whole bunch of it was great. We realized that maybe it was good that we had 2 extra roommates around, because when it was just us two in like a very small space, we kind of lost our mind. I don't know if you're feeling that right now with him, because it can kind of he can kind of have that effect on people. But yeah, Will is a really, really great guy, and I am excited to see what he does in his life, because it's going to be good things.
Thanks so much for listening.
And we'll see you next time.